So Patanjali, Maharshi takes the path of, so let us read that, it's interesting. Vayurodhanat liyate manaha, 11th. Jalapakshivat rodha sadhanam. Chittavayava. Let us read it 3 times. Vayurodhanat liyate manaha. Jalapakshivat rodha sadhanam. Vayurodhanat liyate manaha. Jalapakshivat rodha sadhanam. Chittavayava chitkriya-yutaha. Shakhayordoyi shakti-mulaka. Chittavayava chitkriya-yutaha. Shakhayordoyi shakti-mulaka. Chittavayava chitkriya-yutaha. Shakhayordoyi shakti-mulaka. Laya vinashane ubhayarodhane. Layagatam punar bhavadino mritam. Laya vinashane ubhayarodhane. Layagatam punar bhavadino mritam. Laya vinashane ubhayarodhane. Layagatam punar bhavadino mritam. Pranabandhanat lina manasam. Ekachintanat nashametyataha. Pranabandhanat lina manasam. Ekachintanat nashametyataha. Pranabandhanat lina manasam. Ekachintanat nashametyataha. Nashtamanasot krishtayoginaha. Krityamasti kim swasthitim yataha. Nashtamanasot krishtayoginaha. Krityamasti kim swasthitim yataha. Nashtamanasot krishtayoginaha. Krityamasti kim swasthitim yataha. Now come back to the 11th sloka. Vayurodhanat liyate manaha jalapakshivat rodha sadhanam. So mind is the means of realizing the self. But at this point you are not able to do that because the mind is disturbed and extroverted. So one has to, by some method, quieten the mind. And how do you do that? Here is a method to quieten the mind. Just as you will not be able to see your own reflection in a disturbed surface of water. When the water is disturbed, you don't see your face. When the water is quiet, you can see your face, you can see the depth of the lake, you can see the sky reflected in it. It's a beautiful experience. But when the water is disturbed, you see nothing. You only see disturbance. So by some method, one has to quieten the mind. One method we have seen, feeling belonging to the higher power. When you feel belong to the higher power, then you feel certain quietude. Another method, which the yogis practice. What do? They first quieten the body by making its movement very rhythmic, by doing all these asanas. So instead of the jerk movements, there is a very quiet, like a flower blooming, blossoming of the fire, very quiet movements, very graceful movements of the body. So when a yogi do the yogasana, you see the movement of the body. Or a dancer. Dancing also is a kind of yoga. Dancing is a very, very good yoga. You get all the benefits of yogasanas by dancing also. But the ultimate purpose is to discipline the body. And so that is already accomplished. If you are not accomplished, join a yoga class and accomplish that, Maharshi says. Now, afterwards, he says there is a connection between the mind, thought and mind and breath, breathing. And it is very evident for us if you have looked at your own mind. When the mind is disturbed, your breathing also becomes disturbed. When the mind breathing is calm and deep, and mind also becomes calm and deep. There is a direct correlation. If you are angry, how do you breathe? You breathe heavily, isn't it? Heavy breathing. And all the breath comes to the nostril in such a powerful jet that people get scared. So, breathing and mind, thought processes and emotional states are all related. So therefore he says, since you cannot control the mind, but you can control your breathing. How do you control the breathing? Deep breathing. And practicing the kumbhagas. Kumbhaga means retentions, inner and outer retention. So by deliberate, deep, conscious breathing, you can control the mind, he says. If you are highly disturbed, do one thing. Take a long deep breath and hold it inside for a while. So that practice, kumbhagas. I hope you understand the word kumbhaga means inner and outer retention of breath. So the breathing affects all your metabolic activities, your nervous system. So Maharshi says a simple method, Vayu Rodhanam. Rodhana means control, discipline. Vayu means breath. By controlling your breathing, as I told you, practicing kumbhagas, deep breathing, etc. Liyade manaha, you can quieten the mind. Liyade means quietens, mind quietens. Mind get absorbed, mind become calm. A simple direct method. So whenever you are disturbed, do some breathing exercise. That's all what you have to do. So, Vayurodhanad liyade manaha. How is that? Jala pakshivad rodha sadhanam, he says. And if you want to catch a mosquito or a fly, what do? You take a net, isn't it? You take a net and then swing it and then you can catch the bird or the mosquito or the fly in it. But if you run behind with a hammer, the mosquito will fly away and you will unnecessarily hurt yourself. So there is some upaya, some method in controlling the mind. We don't follow those methods. We just try to control the mind, suppress, and then what you suppressed expresses in some devious, perverted way. That's not the method. Just control the breath. Breathe deeply. That's all what you have to do. So it is like jalam, jale pakshivad. Like you use a jala. Jala means a nest, net. A net, jalam. For what? Pakshivad, catching a bird or a fly. Here, you use pranayama to catch the bird of the mind. Mind is flying all over. So that mind can be caught and kept under discipline by using pranayama. The stage comes, you have to only threaten pranayama, mind will be disciplined. You don't have to even do pranayama. I am going to do, because when the mind knows you have the technique with you, mind behaves. You don't have to do anything. This guy may do pranayama now, so let me behave properly. So the mind knows whom to obey, whom not to obey. Mind doesn't obey us because we don't have any technique. So just as you use a net to catch a bird, you can use the method of pranayama to control and discipline the mind. That is why jale pakshivada, rodha sadhanam, mano rodha sadhanam. The pranayama is a sadhana, is a discipline, is a method, rodham to control the mind. So, vayu rodhanad liyade manaha, jala pakshivad rodha sadhanam. So, pranayama is a very, very effective technique of controlling the hyperactivity. These children, I find a lot of hyperactive children. We ourselves are hyperactive. So by pranayama you can cool the nervous system and bring the mind under certain order and disciplined behavior. Okay, then the problem is, as long as you do pranayama we are okay. You cannot do pranayama all the time. So when you don't do pranayama, mind is again wandering. So what to do? So Maharshi says, Laya vinashane ubhaya rodhane layagadam punar bhavadino mridam. Mind has got 2-3 states. One is the disturbed state. Another is the quiet state. Third is the dissolved state. Vinasha means completely dissolve. What they call the ending of time and mind. You can end time. When the time is ended, mind also is ended, Maharshi says. You don't feel time. At this time is too much for you, isn't it? You don't know how to bide time, how to spend time. Time never moves. Especially when you are in a bored state. So you can live in a state where you don't feel time. That's called ecstasy. And Maharshi calls it mano mridam vinasha. Vinasha means ending. The end. The complete ending. Of what? Mind. Meaning what? Time. You don't feel time. So, meaning you enjoy. Yeah, every moment is a moment of bliss. Enjoy. But you completely quieten the mind by a technique. When the technique is no more there, mind will again come up. So one state is called layam, other state is called vinash. Laya means a quietude gained from practice. But when the practice is no more there, again it will manifest. But another state is called the mind is entered. When the mind is entered, you become a creative person. Otherwise you are always a reactive person. So how do you gain that? That vinasha mind, ending of time. So he says laya and vinasha, these are ubhaya rodhane. These are the two quietened state of mind. Both look quiet, but one will manifest, other will remain quiet all the time. So laya vinashane ubhaya rodhane laya gadam punarbhavadi. That quiet mind which you achieved by practice will come back again. Again it will disturb. Whereas na u mridam, when the mind is completely ended, then it will not come back, he says. It looks a dangerous state, isn't it? Mind is no more functioning. That means you are gone crazy. What do you mean by the the mind which is ended? What do you mean by that? A mind which is dead. What is the meaning of that? The meaning is that mind is always in a state of joy. That's the meaning. The memory is not acting as a load on you. Or there is no fear. Fear is another reason for experience of time. Projecting the future, thinking of the past and all that. So another word, the modern world is the power of now. You are here. And when you are fully in the now, then the future will be taken care of. The past will be integrated. So you are in the now. That state is called the end of mind, end of time. So there are two states like that. So how do you gain that later state where the mind has entered? And when the mind is entered, your private mind is entered, the universal mind takes over. That is what we call the blessing. You receive the blessing. Some higher power functions through me. I don't know what happened. It is happening. You have no sense of agency. All that. So how do you attain that state? Maharshi says, prana bandhanad leena manasam. So by practice of pranayama, you quieten the mind, leena manasam. Mind is relatively quietened, dissolved, relatively become quiescent, leena manasam. Then don't stop there, he says. With that quiet mind, you have to undertake contemplation, samadhi. Dharana, dhyanam, samadhi. On what are you contemplating? Eka chintanat. Contemplate upon the all-embracing one. The all-embracing one. And the all-embracing one experientially is a consciousness in which the mind is functioning. So you abide or focus your attention on the all-embracing consciousness. Then the mind will completely dissolve into that superior universal intelligence. So that is the Eka Chinta. Eka is the word Eka, that simple word. But it has a lot of meaning there. So prana bandhanad leena manasam. So Patanjali. So you practice asana, pranayama, and experience a certain inner withdrawal, pratyahara. Then you meditate. Then you constantly focus on the higher consciousness, in the presence of which the mind is functioning. So at this point we don't know, because the mind is so crowded, we have no space to look into ourselves. But when the mind is quiet, it will reveal by itself. Like when the water is quiet, the bottom will reveal, the bottom of the lake will reveal by itself. Similarly, when the mind is quiet. So, eka chintanam. So don't stay there just by doing pranayama. Then there are another 3 stages. Dharana, Dhyanam, Samadhi. It is called Eka Chintanam, letting it all unfold from the deeper levels. So these 3 slokas, let us read it once again. That 4 of them. Vayurodhanat liyate manaha jalapakshivat rodha sadhanam chittavayava chitkriya Oh, that I didn't see. Okay. I didn't do that. Okay, I am going to do that. Chittavayava chitkriya Shaghayordoyi Shakti Mulaka. Now he tried to see the connection between the body, the prana and the mind. The body and the prana and the mind are 3 branches of the same Shakti, he says. Shakti, Maya, Shakti. And the Shakti Mulaka. Mula means root. From the Shakti, the root, 3 shoots come. What are the Shakti is made up of 3 energies. I hope you know that. Shakti is made up of 3 energies, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas energy. So it is the Tamas aspect of Shakti which become the body, the Rajas aspect of Shakti become the prana, and Sattva aspect of Shakti become the mind. So these are 3 branches. So they are connected. From one branch you can reach other branch and the 3rd branch. So by controlling the body, you are able to control the prana and the mind. Controlling the body means by the graceful movement of the body. And then the pranayama. Then the mind control. So he says, Chitta Vayavaha. Chitta means mind. Vayu means the breath. They have 2 powers. What are their powers? Yudaha means endowed with. Chitta Vayavaha, they are endowed with Chida Kriya, thinking and acting. Kriya means activity. All the activity is possible because of the breath. You stop breathing, then you will be able to do nothing. If you want to experiment. So, the prana shakti is kriya shakti and chitta shakti is thinking shakti or chinta shakti, chit shakti. Chit shakti and kriya shakti. There are 2 powers. Chit shakti belongs to the mind and kriya shakti belongs to the breath, the prana. So these are the 2 powers. So chitta vayavaha, chit kriya yudaha, shaghayor, these are the 2 shaghas, 2 branches which grow from the root Shakti. So I am adding one more branch. The tamas is another branch which constitute the body. Here Maharshi is talking about the prana and the mind. Prana and the mind. But you can add the other also. So 3 shoots, 3 branches born of the Shakti. So Chitta, Vayava, Chida, Kriya, Yudaha, Shaghayor, Doyi, Shakti Mulaka. So now you have the consciousness, because Shiva, then Shakti. Shakti has got 3 expressions, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, body, mind and prana, then its manifestation. That's how it happens. So Chitta Vayava, Chida Kriya Yudaha. So please see that Chitta, mind, Vayava, the breath, Yudaha, endowed with. What are their powers? Chida and Kriya, thinking and acting. They are their powers. There are 2 branches, Shagha, Doi Shagha. These are the 2 branches growing from where? Shakti, from the fundamental power, Shakti Mulaka. So therefore, by controlling one, you are able to, they are correlative. That's the idea. By managing one, you will be able to manage the other. Because mind management is very difficult, mind being subtle. Prana you can always manage. Somebody can block your nose, block your breath and make you feel good. Or you can physically do that. Controlling the mind is difficult because it's very subtle. Controlling the body is easy, prana is easy. So, eka prana bandhanat linama. So, the key word is laya and vinasha. Laya happens when you control the breath. Vinasha happens when you focus on the one truth, the deeper, higher consciousness. So, you achieved the same thing again through the path of... See how Maharshi condensed the entire Patanjali Yoga Sutra. All the 8 steps have been condensed here. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, all condensed into Pranayama and meditation upon the one thing. So people who find it difficult in meditation, there are 2-3 obstacles in meditation. One is sleep, obviously. When you sit and then you sleep. You slip into sleep, you cannot help it. Second is distraction. Mind is wandering all the time. Third is boredom. I don't want to meditate now. Why? It's so boring. So boredom, sleep and distraction, all the 3 can be managed by pranayama. So deep breathing can help you control these obstacles, avoid these obstacles in meditation. So finally, Maharshi comes to, finally the yogi operates beyond the mind and beyond the time. What has happened? What is that state next? Nashta. Am I going a little fast? I hope. Little fast, okay. Yeah, you can, if you have some issue, then you can ask me. If you have some issue, you can ask me. To me, from my standpoint, I have explained everything. I don't find what is the difficulty. But I find you're struggling with the... So what we did was, from the 10th, 11th sloka onwards, I covered 4 slokas. I didn't jump or anything. I went step by step. Yeah, so... Yeah. 4 things are. In these 4 slokas, what was said was, it is difficult to control the mind. Unless you control the mind, you cannot reveal the self. To control the mind, I will give you a technique. The technique is pranayama. Pranayama is deep and deliberate conscious breathing. It also involves retending the air inside and outside. So by following this pranayama, you can quieten the mind. But quietening the mind is not enough. You have to end the mind or transcend the mind. To transcend the mind, you have to meditate with this quiet mind upon the supreme oneness. And the oneness is your consciousness, in which the mind is situated. So therefore, you have to meditate on that. And when you do that, you experience that transcendence. And thereafter, mind will not disturb you at all. You don't feel mind or time because you're always in a state of joy. There's no feeling of time. And that state is described, now it is, I think it's really clear. That state is described by Maharshi here in the 15th sloka. Nashtamanaso krishta yoginaha krityamasti kim swastidhim yata. So when we discuss this nashtamanasaha, one whose mind has entered, it's a very dangerous phrase. There was a time in the 70s when we were growing up, you take drugs and then blow off the mind. A lot of people did it, blow off the mind, blowing in the wind. So, is that what Maharshi means? Blowing off the mind? No, it's not by taking drugs and blowing off the mind, that is. He is talking about you taking a position beyond the mind, by observing the mind, by watching the mind, by deepening the mind. That is what he is meaning. Not just blowing off the mind, nashta. But he uses the word nashta manas, where the mind has ended. And I would say that where time has ended. I would say that living in the moment. The living in the moment also is to be understood. And the living in the moment is not that you have nothing to do with the past. That means you will be a retarded person, no memory of the past. The past is completely integrated into you. So it doesn't stand as a sore thumb, that's the idea. You have become wise, you have learned from the past. And the future, the way you live in the present will determine your future. So you are not worried about the future. So that kind of a state. Nashta manas. The mind has entered. Time has entered. So he says Nashta manasa. He is an enlightened person. He is describing Nashta manasa, who has no mind. Who has no mind. Or who has transcended the mind. Nashta manasa. It's a Buddha state. Buddha state, there is no mind. Nirvana, mind has been transcended. So in that state, Nashta Manasaha, he is called Utkrishta Yoginaha. He is the most exalted yogi because he reached the pinnacle of yoga. So Nashta Manasaha, Utkrishta Yoginaha, Krityamasti kim. For him, there is what else is there to be accomplished, he said. Kritya means to be accomplished. Is there anything more to be accomplished for that person? Krityam kinjit asti. Anything more to be accomplished? Nothing more to be accomplished, he says. So he is called Krita Kritya, who has accomplished the ultimate. Of course, you may have to drive to Chicago, here, there, all those small things may be there. But that's not important. This is more important. Once this thing is attained, then there is nothing Krityam. Kritya means to be accomplished, to be done, to be achieved. So Nashta Manasaha, it's the mind which makes you, feel that you have to achieve that, you have to achieve this. And when you achieve that, mind says, no, this is not what I want. You misunderstood me. But you very clearly told me this is what you want. And we have a contract also. No, this is not what I really want. Maybe you misunderstood me, or I did not convey it properly. Okay, then you tell me what you want. This is what I want. And you struggle for that. When you bring it, this is not exactly. Actually, I wanted the other thing. When you brought it, whatever you brought it last year, mind will play with you like anything. So he says, this is the nature of the mind. Here, Krita Kritya is accomplished. You feel that I have attained. You are ultimately and finally joyous. So Nashta Manasaha Utkrishta Yogina Krityamasti kim. Is there anything more to be accomplished? That clarity should be there. If that clarity is not there, you will be running behind. I am enlightened, but I need this also. So, I am enlightened, but I need this and that too. So, you will be running like a mad person. It's not there. That is why the Swamis, they don't use any degrees. Swami, MA, PhD. They don't use that. Because these are unimportant for him. He may be a PhD, that's a different question. Because he is swimming in that, or enjoying that final bliss. So these are all just burdens for him. There is nothing. So he says, Krityam astihim. You see, does he have anything more to be accomplished? No. Does that mean he will not strive for anything else? He may, but not for anything, just out of his joy. That is what called playfulness. He become playful now. Playfully he be moving around, not seriously. At this point we are very serious. We are ready to do anything. We are ready to do anything to get that. Forget all our values, everything. But here, no. You are playful. So that is the state. So Krityam asti kim sostidim yataha, because when sostidim yataha, you have come to abide in your own center. So there is no fear. There is no sense of inadequacy. There is no wanting there. So you are free from all that. Nashta manasaha utkrishta yoginaha krityamasti kim swasti. This is how Ramana lived. Ramana lived in a small world. He was not like Gandhi all over the world. No. He lived a small world. It's a small flower. Little flower. Gandhi was a huge lotus. But Ramana was a little lily. But it was so beautiful. In his smallness, he was so profound and beautiful. Gandhi also was beautiful in his vastness. He pervaded the whole universe. Ramana was quietly sitting in a corner. That way he pervaded. In his minimalistic way, he pervaded everything. Swastidimyata. He is content, he is happy, and with minimal things. Just with a kaubina. Kaubina vanda kalu bhagyavanda. That is a poem by Shankaracharya. Kaubina vanda kalu bhagyavanda. He owns only one kaubina, means a piece of cloth to cover his nakedness. And he is very happy. Kaubina vanda kalu bhagyavanda. He is so happy. The other person having everything is so unhappy. So that is the difference. So, nashtamanasotkrishta yoginaha krityamasti kim sostidim yataha. Because he has attained his own spiritual nature. He has realized it. Thereafter, for him there is nothing to be done. He is not compelled to do things. He may do out of his inner joy, but he is not compelled. He is not running around like a headless chicken anymore. So krityam asti kim sostidim yadaha. So with that, his Patanjali Yoga Sutra is contained. You know, wise people, they can say things in few words. Unwise people can say all words in the world, still they have not said what they wanted to convey. So Ramana Maharshi is so clear about things, that few words he conveys. So I think I'll stop here, and tomorrow I hope to finish the rest of the 15 slokas. Tomorrow comes a very beautiful section of this, very beautiful and very profound part of his Upadesa Saram. Just let us remain for a few minutes quiet. So Ramana Maharshi's understanding of the architecture of existence, the ground consciousness, the three energies, One the body, the other the mind, and the third is prana. So by watching and practicing pranayama, you are able to quieten the mind. So just try to breathe deeply, deep breathing, and try to hold the air inside for a while before you breathe out. And you can watch your own mind, how it becomes quiet. Free from the worries and anxieties, tensions, it becomes quiet. By pranayama. It can be either watching the breath, Maharshi calls it prana ikshanam. Because there is a direct connection between breathing and thinking or worrying. And the point where you can watch the breath is the bhrumadhya, between the eyebrows. So when you watch the breath, you are able to quieten the mind. And a quiet mind reveals its own depth, which is pure consciousness. And that is your final destination. So as an action, an act, what you do is simply watching the breath while you are doing the pranayama. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.